Most people think the rent versus buy debate is about money. It isn't. It's about safety. Buying a house does not automatically make you safe. In fact, for a lot of people in the UK, it quietly makes them more exposed. Because safety isn't about owning bricks and mortar, it's about what happens when life stops behaving. If you're renting and feel pressure to buy, if you're saving for a deposit and feel like you're falling behind, or if you already own a home but feel permanently stretched. Stay with me, because in the next 10 minutes I want to explain why the buy versus rent debate misses the real issue, and what actually protects you when income changes. If we haven't met before, I'm Chris. I've spent years building assets and income streams, so I'm not relying on luck, timing, or one job to keep me safe. And what I see over and over again is smart, capable people making one big decision backwards. Not because they're reckless, but because no one ever questioned the default path. In the UK, there's an unspoken rule. You're expected to buy a house as soon as possible. Parents encourage it, friends normalise it. Society treats ownership like maturity. Stop paying someone else's mortgage. Get on the ladder before it's too late. Renting is dead money. So people start making decisions backwards. Instead of asking, what actually keeps me safe, they ask, what can I get approved for? And those two questions lead to very different lives. Because banks lend on income, not resilience, and approval is not protection. Here's the confusion at the heart of this debate. People confuse net worth with security. A house can increase net worth over time, but net worth doesn't pay the bills when income stops. Cash flow does, margin does, time does. I've seen couples with impressive homes and no breathing room, and I've seen people renting modestly with far more control. The difference wasn't intelligence, it was structure. I think about money like this. Imagine you're standing near a cliff edge. As long as nothing goes wrong, you're fine. But there's no barrier. When life nudges you, redundancy, illness, burnout, you don't wobble, you fall. Real safety is a wall between you and the edge. That wall is built from surplus buffers, low fixed costs, and cash flow you can rely on. And here's the uncomfortable truth. A heavily mortgaged home does not build that wall, especially early on. This is the bit people don't like hearing. If you rent in the UK and lose your job, there are laws protecting tenants. Universal credit can help with rent. You can downsize or relocate quickly. You can buy time. If you own a home with a large mortgage and lose your job, the mortgage still needs paying. Arrears escalate quickly. Stress compounds fast. Your options shrink, not expand. I've watched people pour every penny into a deposit, stretch themselves to buy the best house they can, and then live one payslip away from panic. Two people on average incomes buying expensive houses because that's what adults do. That's not security. That's exposure dressed up as success. Here's something important about my own journey. I've never spent big money on a personal home. Not because I couldn't borrow it, but because I didn't want housing costs controlling my life. At different points, I've rented deliberately, even while building assets. At times, renting was the smartest decision available. I focused on keeping personal costs low, adding value where it made sense, and not tying my safety to one big, immovable asset. There were periods where renting gave me more flexibility than owning ever could. That wasn't failure, that was strategy. I know of a very successful entrepreneur who at one point chose to live on a canal boat. Not because he had to, not because he was broke, but because he wanted his living costs as low as possible, under £750 a month. That decision bought him time, clarity, and freedom to grow without pressure. Today, his lifestyle looks completely different. The boat wasn't the goal, control was the goal. Low costs buy time. Time buys options. Options buy freedom. Here's the rule that actually matters. Buy a home when it doesn't make you fragile. That means you can still build surplus, you can still absorb shocks, you're not stretched every month, your life doesn't depend on everything going right. If that's not possible yet, rent cheaply and intentionally, not as failure, as positioning. Because modest rent with margin is safer than an impressive mortgage with none. A home is a place to live. It can be meaningful, it can be emotional, it can be part of a long-term plan, but it is not your safety net. Cash flow is. Margin is. Security doesn't come from owning land. It comes from having space when life changes. So don't ask, should I buy or rent? Ask, does this decision push me further from the cliff or closer to it? Because the safest house is the one that doesn't own you. And answering that honestly will save you years.